piling pressure. Protesters step up push for Islamist government in Tunisia to step down. Let's talk. DR Congo's Joseph Kabila opens national dialogue to end crisis. And a day after deadly attacks in Mogadishu, we explored the return of the Al-Shabaab in Somalia. Welcome to Africa Live on CCTV News with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also coming up on the program, it's all systems go. Egypt's constitution team elects a leader. And Nigeria's victory at the World Cup qualifier forces Malawi's coach to hang his boots. We begin in Tunisia, where following the stalemate of talks to end a political crisis with the Islamist-led government, thousands of opposition supporters are due to begin a hunger strike tonight. On Saturday, they took to the streets to renew their calls that the government steps down. A political deadlock there is threatening the North African country's fledgling democracy. CCTV's Maria Galang has the story.
The largest protest since Tunisia's crisis erupted over the killing of opposition leader Mohamed Brahmi in July. Pressure now mounts on the ruling Ennahda party to make way for a caretaker government before proposed elections. Demonstrators packed streets around the National Assembly building, waving red and white national flags and pictures of slain opposition leader Mohamed Brahmi. The widow of Chokri Belaid, another Tunisian politician shot dead earlier in the year, says she expects no answers under the regime the protest was aimed at.
We are convinced it's not possible to know who killed Mohamed Brahimi and who killed Chokri Belaid under this current government.
Tunisia's transition has been relatively peaceful, with the moderate Islamist Ennahda party sharing power with smaller secular parties. But tensions have increased in the nation of 11 million since Brahmi was killed in July.
This is a metaphor for the current government, one of assassinations and blood. That is why I have dyed my hands red.
Facing a vote analysts say it may lose, Ennahda said it's willing to step down, but asked for at least a month to allow the National Assembly to finish writing the constitution and to negotiate over the composition of the caretaker government. In the meantime, hunger strikes and sit-ins loom.
As I said, people must spend the whole night here. Tonight, the hunger strike begins, while on Monday, the sit-in of Kasbah starts.
However, with its strong links to Europe and a non-political military staying out of the fray, most analysts see Tunisia avoiding the Egypt route and weathering its current crisis to hold elections despite disagreements over how and when the poll will happen. Maria Galang, CCTV.
Well, Dr. Mustafa Elwi, a professor of political science and international relations, joins us now from Cairo to share his insights into what is going on in the northern African countries there. Dr. Elwi, thank you very much. Now, the pressure from the protesters seems to be escalating in Tunisia for Ennahda to step down, with sit-ins planned for Monday. What are the implications of these protests?
You see, we all know that it was Tunisia as the first Arab country where the Arab Spring has erupted. And then the Arab Spring was moved from Tunisia and other countries, including Egypt, Yemen, Libya, and Syria. So this is why I think the Tunisian experience still have some very, important symbolic implications for all the for all other Arab countries. And I think what's happening now in Tunisia is like what happened in Egypt for the past 6 months or so. I expect a large number of people, especially from the Tunisian youth, coming into the streets and sit-in movement, which will have a significant or a very significant implication for the future of the political regime of Tunisia. We have to know that Tunisia does have liberal political, not only Islamist, but also liberal and socialist political movements and parties. And there is one more thing which is of great importance, which is that the youth who erupted the revolution in Tunisia and in other Arab countries are now taking the same route of protesting against and pressing for changing the political regime and excluding or depositing the Islamist political forces from the front of the political life of the country. And I think that will be also a major objective for the youth movement in the streets starting Monday in Tunisia, and it will have great implications for that country.
It will have great implications, in your words, though. But what move is likely to be taken by the Ennahda party at the face of the mounting opposition?
I think the Ennahda party or the Reconnaissance in English party of Tunisia should learn from the experience of other Arab countries and also from the experience of Tunisia, because for the last 2 years and 9 months, nothing good or nothing new, nothing positive have been accomplished in the political life, even facing crises and the problems of security, of the economy and of the political life. There is nothing which could be depicted as a political success, and I think the Ennahda party of Tunisia should learn that lesson. It might be too late for them because they are insisting on the same approach of the Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt and other Arab countries, and that will make them or take them to the wrong side or to the wrong way of political life.
All right, Dr. Elwi, you talk of what is going on in Tunisia as having a symbolic implication there, but when you compare the situation in Egypt to that of Tunisia over the last 1 year, is it clear now, a sure fact, that Tunisia is going the same route as Egypt?
I think so, because in the two countries, the major objectives of the revolution of 2011 or 2010 and 2011 have not been accomplished. The objectives that the youth fought for in these revolutions were political liberty or political freedom, political prestige of the citizens of the country, social justice, and bread.
All right.
And none of these objectives have been accomplished by the governments of Tunisia or even Egypt. And that is why I am expecting that the movement that started by the Tamarrud or the rebellion movement of Egypt in the past 2 months will be extended to Tunisia and perhaps to other Arab countries. The Tamarrud movement is becoming stronger. Even in Gaza, part of the Palestine, there is a Tamarrud movement also these days, and they make the date of November 11 to go to the streets. And I think the Islamist groups and the Islamist parties did not learn the lesson. They wanted to take the whole life of the country, neglecting all other political forces, all other political parties, and that's the wrong way. And I think that Tunisia is not that different from the states of Egypt.
All right, Dr. Mustafa Elwi, Professor of Political Science and International Relations, joining us there from Cairo. Thank you. Now, talks on the country's future boycotted by the opposition leader in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, the DRC President Joseph Kabila opened 2 weeks of national dialogue with opposition parties and civic groups on Saturday. However, several senior figures, including the opposition leader Etienne Tshisekedi, did not attend. They accuse him of trying to seek a third term in office. President Kabila is barred by the constitution from running in the 2016 presidential election. He said the talks would address the poor functioning of state institutions and the violence in the east, where M23 rebels launched an uprising some 18 months ago. In his first public speech in months, the president said the political dialogue in Kinshasa was a necessary accompaniment to the negotiations with the M23 rebels. Rebels and government negotiators are due to return for talks in Uganda Monday. A summit of regional leaders set them a 2-week deadline for striking a peace deal. Meanwhile, the M23 president has been speaking to the media in the DRC's border town of Bunagana, where he spelled out the M23's conditions ahead of the talks in Uganda. CCTV's Alan Cheror has more.
The M23 movement has set straight their conditions for peace a day ahead of negotiations with the DRC government to be held in Uganda's capital, Kampala. Speaking at a press conference in the DRC's Bunagana town, the movement's president Batad Bisimwa said the M23 would disarm only if their conditions were met by the ICGLR.
We disarm on 2 conditions. First, to resolve the problem of FDLR, who are in our country since 20 years now. Secondly, if they bring our refugees who are in Uganda, who are in Rwanda, if they can install them in our country, in their homes, we are ready to disarm. And after disarming, we'll be like others citizens in the country.
The FDLR, a Rwandan Hutu group that opposes President Paul Kagame's government, includes Hutu militiamen suspected of participating in the 1994 genocide, who the M23 claimed to be fighting together with the Congolese government forces. Since the M23 took control of parts of the eastern DRC, nearly 3 million people have fled their homes. About 2.5 million have settled in Congo, but more than 460,000 have crossed into neighboring Rwanda and Uganda. The conditions given by the M23 movement presents a daunting task to the peace negotiations in Uganda's capital, Kampala, mainly the demand of disarming the FDLR rebels. These demands come after Ugandan President Museveni warned the M23 against using unconstitutional means to change government, urging the DRC and M23 to resume talks and resolve their conflict amicably. Alan Chero, CCTV, DRC.
You're watching Africa Live on CCTV News. Coming up on the program, it's all systems go. Egypt's constitution team elects a leader. And a day after deadly attacks in Mogadishu, we explore the return of the Al-Shabaab in Somalia. Welcome back to the program. Now, Egypt's ousted President Mohamed Morsi has been detained for 4 days on charges of insulting the judicial authority. Earlier in June, Morsi accused 22 judges of forging the 2005 elections. And this comes while the country's 50-member committee that will write the new constitution holds its first meeting. Adel Makhroui has more.
One of the judges that is investigating former Prime Minister Shafiq's corruption case is Ali Mohamed Al-Nemr. He is a forger. I witnessed him forging the elections in 2005. Ali Al-Nemr is one of 22 judges that should be investigated because of forging.
This was part of Morsi's last televised speech, only 4 days before the June 30th protests that ousted him. Because of these words, Morsi was detained for 4 days for investigations to topple his detention for the espionage and breaking out of prison cases.
All the cases filed against Morsi are for vengeance. They are all criminal cases, and in fact, they are political. This is all for political detention.
He named one judge twice on air in accusations yet to be proved. Slander and insulting the judicial authority are few of the charges waiting for him in court. When an investigation panel went to Morsi for questioning, he rejected to answer.
These accusations will continue even after the transitional period. Their aim is to end the Muslim Brotherhood. Why don't they investigate his accusations first?
While Morsi's future is becoming vague with more court cases filed against him, Egypt's next step is getting clearer as the 50-member committee that will write Egypt's new constitution held its first meeting by electing a chairman.
I feel deeply responsible knowing the dangerous situation in this country, but optimism has a place amongst us, and hope is surrounding us because of the presence of this caliber of people with loyalty to our country. We are taking the first step to form a constitution with a consensus.
Amr Moussa is Egypt's former foreign minister and the former Secretary General of the Arab League. Members elected the head of committees and voted on their bylaws. The committee has until November 7th to submit their final draft, paving the road to a referendum that should be held no later than December 7th. Adel Mahroui, CCTV, Cairo.
All right, Adel Mahroui is joining us now live from Cairo. Adel, a committee responsible for amending Egypt's constitution has begun its task to prepare the final draft. How has the process been so far, and what can we expect here?
Well, the process has been launched, and there seemed to be some sort of disagreement in the beginning of the procedures. Well, all the 48 members today, not 50, were attending. Just 48 of them, it was pending. And basically what happens is that they try to get a consensus on how to proceed further. But it seems because of the diversification of the 50 committee members, each single candidate come from a different political party. Most of them are politicians, so it was not a rough, not an easy start. But basically, sooner the boost of the and the rhythm of the meeting has become faster, and they will be holding on a daily basis for 60 days. They're required to finalize the draft. But the main challenges will be considering the Islamic Sharia articles or the Islamic laws articles of the Constitution that have been eliminated, and will be one of the biggest debate expected for the committee, particularly that a Noor party, Egypt's second biggest Islamic party, has decided today to join and will start participation in the committee starting tomorrow.
All right, Adel, the new constitution, though, if adopted, prohibits the establishment of religiously oriented political parties. Where does that leave parties, though, like the Muslim Brotherhood?
Well, first of all of the participants in the 50-member committee, almost all of them have taken a position against the Muslim Brotherhood. So to start with, almost the entire committee has not been in a political agreement with the Muslim Brotherhood. But there are Islamic representatives inside the committee. There are two representatives from three representatives, sorry, from Al-Azhar, the biggest Islamic institution in the world, and should be that spreads the moderate teachings of Islam. Also, one of the Islamic teachers or professors and the university is also participating beside the Noor party, and also a former member of the Muslim Brotherhood who believes in the philosophy of the Brotherhood. However, politically also he was not in agreement with the group, so he left it a long time ago. So this entire shapes that there might be all philosophic and ideologies represented. However, politically this will not be an ease. The Muslim Brotherhood and all their backing and supporting political parties are not represented, and therefore this is a big part of society that is still not included in the 50 members.
All right, Adel, Now, the committee has begun sitting there to write a new constitution, but a member of the opposition has already declared his interest in running for the presidency, even before that constitution is drafted. Isn't this too early, though?
Well, it doesn't seem that it will be too early, because basically what will happen is that within 60 days the final draft should be issued. A month later, at the most, the referendum will start. And once this is taken off, it means that within 2 or 3 months the process for the elections will begin. And there seemed to be a very strong vibe that the presidential elections will be first, or at least it will be together with the parliament elections. So if we have both presidential and parliament elections together, it means that it's about time for candidates to start their campaign. Hamdeen Sabahi, whose backing groups have announced or launched campaigns to support him for president, he himself has not announced that he will run, but his backing groups and political parties, one of the main groups that he is leading is the Popular Current, and they announced their support, and they're monitoring campaigns that is trying to get as much support as possible for Mr. Sabahi to run for the election. Sabahi has turned out to become third in the previous 2012 race and is expected to be one of the strongest candidates in the coming race.
All right, CCTV's Adel Mahroui joining us there from Cairo. Thank you. Now, the Somali capital, Mogadishu, has been experiencing some degree of relative calm in recent times. It has attracted investors and seen some countries reopen their embassies. But it emerges that Al-Shabaab can potentially disrupt the calm almost at will. Now, losing the battle in the front lines, the amorphous outfit has since resorted to asymmetric warfare, perhaps proving they are still as potent.
Deadly twin blasts on a restaurant in central Mogadishu on Saturday that killed 18 raises concerns of wavering security in the Somali capital. In condemning the attack, President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud asked Somalis to join forces against Al-Shabaab. He said they were now targeting innocent civilians.
They say they are fighting the government and its soldiers, and see what they do today. They are attacking innocent people. They are killing elders, they are killing the elite, and they bomb the markets. Our only option is to fight back, and we must join forces and unite against them.
This was a sophisticated attack. A car bomb was first detonated at the entrance of the restaurant before a second bomber blew himself up in the midst of the scared crowd. Saturday's attack came barely 3 days after the Somali presidential convoy was ambushed as it headed to the port town of Marka, south of the capital. So how does the international community view Al-Shabaab?
Al-Shabaab may have begun as something that some Somalis feel represents their views. It turned into a criminal racket which cloaked itself in religion. That is an abuse of religion. They've engaged in outright acts of terror. And it's not against the international community, against their own people.
Recent escalation of attacks provide evidence that 2 years after Al-Shabaab was driven from the capital, the group can still strike at will. Mohammed Hirmouni, CCTV.
And we'll take another short break here on Africa Live, but still ahead on the program. Nigeria's victory at the World Cup qualifier forces Malawi's coach to hang his boots. Well, Belgian Tom Saint-Fillet has resigned as coach of the Malawi national football team. His side suffered a 2-0 defeat at the talons of the Super Eagles on Saturday. Nigeria, who only needed a draw to make it through to the next qualifying round, took the lead through Emmanuel Emenike. Liverpool striker Victor Moses added a second from the penalty spot shortly after the restart to ensure Nigeria finished top of Group F. The West Africans advanced to the last round of the African qualifiers next month, when the 10 group winners are paired into 5 two-legged playoff ties.
Nigeria, for a long time, we have not been acting as we have not been winning like this. But I thank God that we have qualified by this match. I was very happy when we won this match.
It was a nice an interesting game. In fact, all the expectations on them were accomplished. Their effort wasn't in futility. They really made us proud. Of course, we really enjoyed. We caught our fun, and awesome.
Now, after nearly 20 years, the adaptation film of Nelson Mandela's autobiography finally hit the big screen Saturday at the Toronto International Film Festival. The premiere of the film Long Walk to Freedom was held at the Roy Thompson Hall in Toronto. The biopic features Idris Elba in the title role and Naomi Harris as his then-wife Winnie Mandela. CCTV's Robert Soy has the story.
Freedom, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
The new Nelson Mandela biopic is based on Mandela's 1994 autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom.
My name is Nelson Mandela.
The film profiles Mandela's life from his beginnings in a rural village to his inauguration as South Africa's first democratically elected president. Special attention is paid to the international icon's political career and peacemaking attempts. Acknowledging the honor bestowed upon him, British actor Idris Elba said portraying Nelson Mandela was the role of a lifetime and was the most challenging thing he's ever done.
There were massive challenges, huge challenges, from everything from just performance aspects. I don't look like Mr. Mandela, how do I capture this man? To also just, the weight of playing a living legend, someone that everybody can almost do some sort of an impression of,
It's your final warning! They're not breaking any laws.
Elba moved to South Africa to research the role and interviewed members of the Mandela family as part of his preparation. Well, the same for actress Naomi Harris, who plays Mandela's former wife Winnie Mandela and turned to her for help when preparing for the role.
To meet Winnie was incredibly intimidating because she's a really formidable woman, but she was incredibly generous as well. She said, look, you've done your research and I trust you, so I trust you to create the role as you see fit. So she gave me free rein, really.
Director of the film, Justin Chadwick, said that having the support of the Mandela family added an element of freedom to the challenge of portraying the story accurately.
They were supportive of it. They opened the doors. I spent time with them as a family. And yeah, it was very, very supportive, and nothing was held back. Everything was open. We had complete access to everything. Yeah, so I felt very, very supported by them. It was that was what was so humbling, really, for me.
Aluminium powder mixed with the acid catalyzes, and you've got.
The film will open in North American theaters on November 29. The premiere has come at a moment when Nelson Mandela has just been discharged from hospital.
Nelson Mandela, do you plead guilty or not guilty? My lord, it is not I but the government that should plead guilty.
We'll never leave you. The production team of the film expressed their concerns over Mandela's ailing health, saying their heart and prayers are with Mandela and his family at this moment.
The more they oppress us, the harder we fight.
Robert Soy, CCTV.
It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
Well, that is it for this edition of Africa Live. Remember, you can stay in touch with Africa Live on Twitter using the handle @CCTV News Africa. You can also visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa. Thank you for watching. I'm Beatrice Marshall in Nairobi. Up next, Faces of Africa. Bye-bye.